did it, but.
Okay, good. Hold on to that enthusiasm.
Yeah.
We ready? Megan, you are playing, I think, one of the most iconic roles, Christine Daae. This is the sequel to Phantom of the Opera. For people who might not be familiar with Love Never Dies, talk about what the plot line is. Tell me about the story.
Oh, without giving any spoilers, let me think here. So we find Christine 10 years later, and a lot has happened to her. Can I say she has a son? Yes. Can I not say she has? Okay, so she has a son.
Wait, let's pick that up again. So
Okay.
You're playing this iconic role, Christine Daae. For people who might not be familiar with the story of Love Never Dies, can you elaborate on where we find Christine when the show opens?
Yes. So we find Christine 10 years later. We find out that she has a son. She and Raoul are indeed still married. We also find her traveling to the United States from Europe. We find out that she has become this gigantic superstar, super opera star. But she took a few years off. And this new performance in America is her first time singing again after that hiatus, but still after having extreme success. So that's kind of where we find her, in that place in her life.
And now, I mean, this is such a beloved role. I mean, people grew up on the Phantom of the Opera. I grew up on Phantom of the Opera. Was there any pressure bringing, your Christine into this sequel?
Oh, of course. When you have such an iconic, I would say even role model, she's a woman, a girl that grows into a woman that's part of so many American, so many international people's lives. There's that pressure of, okay, so here we are, this is Christine. We all know her, we know what happened to her. And then there's the challenge also of, but she's grown. So she's not the same Christine. She's not the 18-year-old, she's the 28-year-old version, which at that time would have been a very mature Christine. So it's amazing.
And she's a wife, and she's a mother, and she has this love interest that, of course, we knew from Phantom of the Opera. How do you think that's going to resonate with women?
Well, I think these are very real situations that she finds herself in. They're very real challenges that she finds herself in. Whether or not 1907 or present day, I mean, as a woman, I don't have children yet, but as a young female, already there are pressures. I see it with some of my friends who have children. I see it even with my mother. That where do you balance the difference between, do you feel guilty that you've gone and you've done your job and you've left your child at home? How do you balance that? And I don't think there is any difference between a 1907 woman and a current woman of today in that very basic regard of what is your sense of duty?
Right.
What is your,
And in terms of balance, you bring up a wonderful point. As an actress, you are now going to do, and as an opera singer, classically trained vocalist, you're now going to be doing 8 shows a week. How have you started to prepare yourself and find balance between, the professional career that you were used to and sort of this new crossover into musical theater?
So a few things. One, the most basic is health. To have that kind of stamina, 8 shows a week, microphone or no microphone, is intense.
Yeah.
It's a marathon, and it's 8 shows a week for a year.
Yeah.
It's not like we're doing a sprint. You really have to prepare yourself mentally, physically. Make sure everything, the way that I eat, what I drink, everything that I intake in my body has to be very much planned and very calculated. Physically, making sure that I'm fit. This is a demanding role. These costumes, they're not feathers. I've tried them on, they're gorgeous. Some of them weigh almost 40 pounds.
I was like, they look like they're heavy.
They're heavy.
Yeah,
yeah, they're heavy. They're gorgeously heavy. So you need to make sure that you are in a mental, spiritual, and physical place that's ready to begin doing this journey.
Not to mention that the show itself, I mean, it is a beautiful love story, but it's tragic, it's emotional. And
Yes.
every night having to go down that journey without giving away too much. How do you, as an actress now, approach that without being, just crushed at the end of every night?
Well, I will be, actually.
Yeah.
For me personally, I find it a privilege to be a performer, because I think what we do is we live the human condition and we share it. That's why people come to theater. They want to feel things, they want to experience them with you. And I'm not someone that can stay away from the character. I'm someone that when you see me crying, if you see me crying on stage, it's because I'm using something that I have experienced, and I'm using Christine as the vessel for my own experiences and living through them and giving them to the audience. So for me, it is very real, and I have thought about that because I have done some tragic roles in the opera world, and indeed, it's difficult sometimes, especially if it's so emotional, issues that we all dealt with, abandonment, betrayal. I mean, these are areas that you don't really want to visit, but for the sake of the art, you do. And you go there as deep as possible, because then it's true. No matter how grandiose the story is, it makes her real. It makes the situation real, and everyone can feel it then. And so, in short, coming home after that, it's difficult. And when you are on the road and you can't have a glass of wine, I mean, I literally had to watch like Disney movies after one of my tragic roles in opera, because you have to somehow get yourself back to ground zero again.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
You've got to figure something out.
I know, otherwise you will be very depressed for a year.
Yeah, that just seems really challenging.
It is, but you know what? That's my job.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and I am happy that I've had some of those heartbreaking experiences in my own life, because I understand her more.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I see this. Is she hitting her mic?
Oh, do I
I
keep
see you
doing
kind
this?
of. Yeah. I'm sorry. I was going to just.
I'm
stop.
sorry, I'm Italian.
I'm not Italian, but I talk like an Italian, so I.
Oh.
Such a pretty cuff.
It's
Oh my
cool, right?
goodness, it's really cool.
A little bit of edge. Okay. Mic. Okay.
Just not here.
Yeah, anywhere here. Okay.
So now Garter has had experience playing the Phantom in this role. You're coming in as a new Christine. Are you nervous? Are you excited?
Oh, actually, I'm not nervous at all, but it's partially because I feel so supported. I mean, I feel like we've all been together for like a month, and this is only day 6. And between every single person so far that we've had scenes together with, they're so giving, and it's so exciting to have scene partners that they go there. There's a fearlessness, and with Gardar having the experience of already doing this once, I feel some kind of foundation. But I also know that I'm sure, have a very different relationship on stage than whatever he was used to before. But again, like, immediately it was like, hi, nice to meet you. Now let's sing in each other's faces and we'll be passionate. But it was so easy, and that's exciting because it doesn't always happen. So it's really exciting because already it's grown. I can't even imagine where it's going to be in a month, let alone opening night. It's going to be great.
I mean, the magic between you, just getting to see it in rehearsal was incredible.
Oh, thank you.
I'm not sure if people would know this about you, but you spent most of your professional career thus far as a soprano in the opera, and now you're crossing over to the theater. What are some of the differences? What are some of the challenges been in going from one to the other?
Well, vocally, they are a slightly different creature. They share elements, especially I feel like nowadays, there are much more shared elements between the two worlds. But indeed, one big difference is you get to sing with a microphone in music theater. this is amazing. I can do colors in my voice that I don't have the luxury to necessarily do when I have to fill a 5,000 seat theater with no microphone. You must project. Yes, you can color the voice, but when you have a mic, you can do things. You can text paint. And Sir Andrew's music is so beautifully written. He kind of tells you the subtext and it's right there, and you can actually do exactly what's there. That's a big difference. Number of performances is the next gigantic difference. In the opera world, I would never have a 2-show day. I would never have 8 shows a week. And I never really understood what that meant until I was in Candide, where it was kind of an interesting blend of music theater and opera. And after that, that was my first 8, many, many performances. I have such respect for everyone in music theater because mic or no mic, that's a marathon. And to have that energy and to have the voice and to keep things fresh every night, I remember seeing Book of Mormon when it first came out, and it was a Saturday matinee. And I remember being so thrilled with how electrifying everyone was. And it was their matinee. And now in hindsight, I look back and I'm thinking, gosh, that was probably their 6th show, and they had another one that night. How did they just do that?
Right.
It's amazing. Or even Phantom of the Opera. I went to see it, obviously, so when I was cast, I went to see the show again as a refresher.
Yeah.
And I'm getting off topic, sorry.
No.
But something that actually made me so excited. First of all, 30 years later, the theater is packed. Hal set me up like on his own little seat, right? So I remember looking at the theater, there was not an empty seat in the house. And I was like, my God, this is amazing. And on top of it all, this audience was so excited to see the show. And you just know that some of them have seen it 10, 12, 15 times. It doesn't even matter. And at the end of the show, they leapt to their feet like I have never, I'm not even being dramatic, I have never seen an audience so excitingly and so willingly and wantingly to get up and applaud what just happened in front of them. And that excitement, it was thrilling, and it's not something you always find, and it's incredible. And it's incredible to see how many people want that experience.
And let's talk about, because as somebody who grew up on the Phantom, and I love the music, and I had the DVD box set, and I would put it in my Discman and play it on the way to school every day.
Yeah.
When I heard about Love Never Dies, and when I went to see it, I had extremely high standards. That I'm gonna be honest, I was like, I'm not sure this is going to be able to fulfill this love affair that I had with these characters.
Of course.
And I've got to say, it was deeply satisfying. But talk a little bit about the pressure of putting on a sequel to something that's so iconic.
Oh, of course. I think with any sequel, movies, anything, first of all, there's an expectation. Like you said, you have a connection. You have a relationship with these characters. You also, I would assume, have an expectation of what you want to have happened to them. And whether or not it happens how you want, that's going to affect you. You might be like, what? No, that can't be. Also, yes, she's 10 years older, but you're of course thinking of Christine as you left her in Phantom. There is the pressure of, well, that's not how I thought Christine was going to be 10 years later. There is a definite, people are coming in with expectation and hope, of course, but they have a foundation. So there is that weight and gravitas to the situation and responsibility for us to know where they came from, what the fans and what they all want it so badly to know what happened.
And do you think that 10-year difference also gives you as an actress a little bit of freedom?
Yes.
To make her your own?
I personally think so. I hope the audiences agree. But yes, I actually met with Sir Andrew and we spoke about the story, we spoke about her. And also as an opera singer, of course, there are many wonderful, amazing living composers for opera. But a lot of the repertoire I've sung, they're not alive.
Right.
So for the first time in a long time, I was able to have a conversation with the composer who wrote this story. I could ask him personally, why did you choose this setting? Why did you choose to set this 10 years later? Why? And to have the reasonings, and then for him to basically give the blessing of, well, you can kind of make this your own, is basically an actor's dream.
Yeah.
So there is responsibility, but also I'm gonna run with it because yes, like I'm beginning to know her. It's so funny, I just had a conversation with my parents and I told them, I was like, it's not even a weekend, but I'm beginning to fall in love with her.
Yeah.
I'm falling in love with Christine, which is very magical as an actor because as you begin to put on the skin of this new character, if you love her, even if you don't agree with all the decisions,
right,
it's amazing, and you make it yours.
I mean, I actually preferred this Christine to the last one. I felt like she was a lot less needy. Well, you know what it was? She was a more mature. You mentioned that you got to meet Andrew Lloyd Webber and work with him. I mean, he in the theater world is revered.
Of course.
What was it like?
Well, I haven't worked with him yet, but just speaking with him, well, first of all, he's the nicest person in the entire world. Like, he's just so wonderful and generous. And I think it's amazing. I mean, like, literally, like, oh, hey, you're Andrew Lloyd Webber. I do know who you are. Yes, I definitely do. But he's so lovely. And the fact that he is so willing and open to basically be like, let's create this character. I think that's amazing.
So when people come away from the show, what do you want them to feel?
Oh, I want them to feel everything. I mean, I want them to feel love. I want them to feel pain, heartbreak, hope. I want them to feel the gambit of emotions that if you even just sat back and listened to the music, you can feel them already. I mean, I want them to have a human experience when they come to the show.
And now speaking of human experiences, and drawing on your own life, which is what a lot of what you mentioned you do, have you ever found yourself in a Christine position, sort of stuck between two men? Two loves?
Yes, I mean, yes. I mean, really though, I mean, like these, she's a real human. It might be an elevated story, in the sense of it's an interesting situation. But again, her situation is one. I might not have a child, but I know what it's like to be torn between someone that you feel you should be with and then someone that just brings out this primal, emotional side of you that you have no control. It just comes out. I mean, I know exactly what that feels like.
I think a lot of people do. I love this. It's very human.
It's so human and beautiful. I mean, it's painfully beautiful, beautifully painful, however you want to call it, but it's something that I think a lot of us have dealt with. So, yeah.
I love that.
So along that's what I was going to say, how you are similar and different.
Okay. So going off of that, let's talk about Megan. How are you similar to Christine Daae?
Similar. Can we talk about differences first?
Sure. All right. So, I mean, how would you say that you differ from Christine's character?
Well, one major difference that I have found, I am a spicy Italian girl that basically will just kind of call you out on things, and I'm a little bit more straightforward as opposed to, again, you must remember, Christine is a woman from 1907. I do find her a strong character, actually. She's not the same Christine you found at 18, but there is a strength in her that has an elegance. She knows how to get her way, but in such a delicate manner. The relationship between her and Raoul, you will find, is a complicated one. It's not just some wonderful love. It's complicated. And how she navigates that relationship between the two of them is very unlike me. I mean, Simon would say, well, you know, she's thinking this, and I'm like, God, that's brilliant. I would never do that. Like, literally, I would be like, boy, I would just be like, no, what's wrong with you, you know? But she knows how to elegantly navigate situations, and that I find as a very big difference between the two of us.
Do you think that's something that we should all maybe learn from her a little bit?
I don't know. I mean, I'm single, so maybe maybe I need to learn some from Christine. So.
Well, what do you think that the modern day woman can really pull from this relationship? Because she is not a pushover.
No, I think that is the biggest thing. At first, and I'm going to be honest, I judged her a little bit because I'm like, gosh, she just keeps taking the blame for things and she just goes along. This is actually not the case. And the more that I discover her and I live with her and become her, she is a very strong woman. She is a woman of her time, and also not. In this time that we find her, she is making the money in their relationship. Mm-hmm. And that, I hate to say it, but that's still an issue here in our current times. Especially in 1907, she's the breadwinner. So right there, that's an interesting color to who she is as a person. She didn't give up her job to be just, she's doing it all. And she's doing it all with grace and finesse. And that takes a lot of strength to do. So I very much respect her. And on top of it, what do you do then suddenly when someone is thrust in your life that you never thought you were going to see them again? Right. How do you navigate that? That's not easy for anyone. And that requires extreme strength. So
I think she's very relatable, which is nice. And we also have this heroine who is strong, but who's not perfect.
She's not perfect at all. And I think that's what makes her so accessible. Although she is this grand opera star, she wears these beautiful, she carries herself in a way that's very graceful. She's extremely accessible because, we are powerful women. Right. We are independent women, and yet also we have these constraints of society. How do we navigate that? How do we deal with that? And still maintain our pride as powerful women.
And constraints of our own emotions, which we really get to see too, right? So what do I think is right? What do I think is wrong? Forget about what they think is right or wrong.
Exactly,
Just this battle that goes on within ourselves.
Completely.
I love that you said that you are falling in love with her, somebody who deals with this character now on a daily basis, because it says to us that seeing this show more than once, seeing it twice, seeing it, we're like a Phantom I saw, like 100 times, we'll get to develop these relationships. It's a growing relationship.
Completely. The show that we're going to do on opening night will not be the show that we do after we've lived with these wonderful, very complicated characters 6 months from now. So you're going to have to see us in Detroit, and then you're going to have to see us in LA and Las Vegas, because we will not be the same. We're going to grow and evolve, and that's really exciting. And our relationships between each other on stage will evolve. So it's really exciting. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you nailed it.
That others have touched upon is the music. Everyone knows the score of Phantom. If you can share with us what everyone should expect and be surprised about with this score.
The music from the original Phantom of the Opera is so iconic. What do you think that people coming to see Love Never Dies, what can they expect? What do you think is different? What's the same?
From the moment the show starts, this melody just comes and it takes you over. You can't, it's so beautiful, and you just can't help it. You kind of just sigh into it. And actually, it's like everyone's a Christine. It takes you over. It takes hold of you, and it transports you into this beautiful, also warped kind of place that's mysterious, and it's I mean, for me, it's some of the most beautiful writing I've ever heard Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber write. It's gorgeous. It's stunning, truly.
And in a way only he can do, he does these wonderful musical references and pays homage to the original, but yet warps and twists the music
Yes.
into this new version.
It's brilliant. Like, you'll hear little motifs that you're like, I remember that in Phantom. And then he changes it in the way that, again, it matures it into what's happened in 10 years. It's really brilliant. And it's really exciting. It's epic. It's epic.
It is. It's epic, and I think the people who come to see this, long-term fans, are really going to be satisfied.
Oh, yeah.
It's a sequel that leaves you satisfied.
And heartbroken.
And heartbroken and
Can I say
emotional
that?
and weeping
No, yeah.
like a baby.
Yeah.
Me and my husband.
Yeah.
But also in a way that it wasn't like this, I'm drained and I feel unsatisfied. I feel like, you know, without giving anything away, it is a sequel that wraps things up nicely.
Yes. You know what happens to all the characters.
In a deeply satisfying way. But we don't want to spoil the ending.
No.
Because it was definitely, I was like, what? I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah.
And, you know, let's talk a little bit, you know, I think the first one was very interesting. And as an opera singer, you understand, we were in the Paris Opera House. You had, you know, opera-style music, right? Phantom of the Opera was written in an opera style in a Paris Opera House. This show takes a different spin because now we're out of the Parisian Opera House. We're here in Coney Island. Vaudevillian, sort of dark and you know, this characters that has also influenced the music style. We're in America.
Yes.
How does that affect you as an actress? How do you think you approach that?
You know, actually, that was one of my questions to Sir Andrew. I asked him, why did you pick Coney Island of all the places? And he said, well, you have to remember, in 1907, it was the 8th wonder of the world, first of all. So it's not the Coney Island that we know right now. It was, and also, I mean, the Phantom, his origins, he was from the freak show. And he would blend in a place like Coney Island, because that's where all kinds of people were accepted then. And you know, I had a very interesting discussion with a dear friend of mine whose father was a cop in Coney Island decades ago. And he's like, this is the place that you went and you could do whatever you wanted. You could get away with anything. And that wasn't even turn of the century Coney Island. It's a place of mystery. It's a place of intrigue. Anything goes. And to have that as the setting, anything can go. You can get lost there. So it actually makes perfect sense. And from just logistics standpoint, I mean, the Phantom is pretty recognizable. So if he was anywhere in Europe, they would probably know who he was.
Right.
And in my mind, as an actress, the fact that she had a few years off, what fills those years? That's my secret. There must be one amazing reason you'll know part of what the reason is, why they have to take the journey to America. Why would you have to go there instead of just stay in Europe? There's a reason. So when you combine all those elements together, it actually makes perfect sense. And then speaking of the music, you'll find the music to be a little off kilter. I mean, this is a freaky place. This is a place that you don't normally just go to, especially as someone that's, you know, you're a ballet, you're an opera singer, the Paris Opera, and then all of a sudden you're in this crazy world where literally they have freak shows.
Right.
It's dark.
Yeah.
So.
Dark, a little dangerous.
Dark, dangerous.
You know, did you know, had you met Garter before? You know, you're starting these rehearsals, but boy, you guys have a very intimate relationship on stage.
Oh.
Is it like, what do you do? Just like go out and they're like, hey, let's just like, you know, grab some coffee? And I mean.
No, it literally was, we sang like 30 minutes together, and then 2 days later, we were immediately in a scene. And this is one of those kind of primal things. I'm a very like, I feel it with my gut.
Right.
And it was immediate. It's just an immediate stage chemistry. Part of it, again, is like the openness, and he's so nice and so kind. You feel safe immediately to go somewhere with someone. You trust them. So in these very physical, emotional scenes, I don't feel any trust issues. So therefore, literally within like not even an hour, it's like we were acting together, we were being together as these characters for years. And that's very special. It doesn't always happen, actually. So I'm really excited because for him and I to have that natural chemistry on stage is gonna be huge. Huge, because we don't even really have to pretend, you know what I mean? It's just innately there,
Right.
which is beautiful.
I mean, let me tell you, whew, it shows. It was hot. It was hot in here. It was a good thing Simon stopped it, because I was like, whoa, whew.
Yeah, but yeah, no, but he's lovely. He's wonderful to work with, and he's very gracious. There's no ego. It's really about ensemble.
Yeah.
Being together on the stage as opposed to like, I am the diva, I am the diva. No, it's really like we're all coming together to make this a beautiful piece. And that's also something that doesn't always happen. I mean, there is a huge responsibility and expectations for all of us. We will hold ourselves to that level. And the fact that there's already a camaraderie to go with it, we will go to that level.
This is also a huge cast.
Yeah.
You know, so how has it been collaborating with everybody?
I
so
actually
far?
don't know.
Right.
We get to meet them tomorrow.
Okay. Actually, I realized as I was saying that, I'm like, we're gonna pretend, but that one won't be right. But you know, this is such a huge cast. Why is it important for everybody to have that collaboration, especially going out on tour?
Oh, well, I mean, so this is my first time touring, and this is a bad analogy. I feel like we're going to war together. We are brethren. But you know what I mean? I mean, like, we're traveling. You do 8 shows a week, and it's not even like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go back home to my apartment. Oh, on our off day, we're gonna go travel somewhere. I mean, we're going to different environments, which means different audiences, there's going to be receiving of the show. It's like little cultural differences every time. Sure. And so we as a unit have to be that constant, I think. We have to have that consistency. We're going to be a family. I mean, already I'm beginning to see my new family for the next year, and it's exciting. And I get to meet the rest of my family very soon. And, you know, that love and care for each other is going to be essential as we go and travel for a year and share all of that with everyone else in the United States. So it's very important that we all do our job, we work hard, and that we really truly love each other. You know, we're gonna have a weird little family, you know, you're gonna have everybody, all different types, but they're all going to be wonderful. And I know that each of us were handpicked. There's a reason we're all here. And I'm sure part of that, the fact that each and every single person that I have met has not only been incredibly mind-blowingly talented, but some of the nicest people I've ever met, there's no mistake.
Right.
Like
Yes.
that was purposely done.
And I have to ask one last question because I am a woman, and you mentioned before. You talked about being very careful about the things that you're going to be putting into your body.
Oh, yes.
Right. So what sort of things can you have? What sort of things can't you have?
So I wish I could be one of those singers that could just do what I want, but I can't. You know, this is my voice, this is my instrument. And if I was a piano, I wouldn't spill drinks on it, I wouldn't scratch it. I mean, like, so, you know, I have to make sure I'm eating very healthy food, you know. Really, like, what you put in your body is going to make my instrument.
So, like, what sort of things are we
So,
eating?
for instance, like, if I'm going to sing a lot, I won't eat a lot of spicy food, you know, vinegary things, alcohol, goodbye.
For a year.
See you later.
Okay, I
In
quit.
a year, I'll be back. You know, it's things like this. You know, you have to really, your body is your temple.
Yeah.
So you must take care of it.
So no greasy foods, I'm assuming.
No greasy foods, anything that's gonna make you feel like you need to sleep for a week.
Yeah.
Nothing like that.
Milk, phlegm.
Exactly, it's really that, I mean, I wish I wasn't that kind of sick, but I know my body, I also know myself. Some singers, they can have, you know, 3 glasses of whiskey and eat like chocolate and pizza and spicy Thai food and then sing. I can't.
Right.
I'm limited if I do that. So, no problem. Fine. That is a worthy sacrifice for me to be able to go on stage and perform. So, yeah, indeed, I have to have a very restrictive, healthy though. That's the thing too. I mean, when you are on stage, you are going. I mean, it is calories. So it's not eating. In fact, you must eat. It's just you must eat very healthily. Fruits, vegetables, you know, good kinds of protein. I mean, it's just basics. I mean, it's almost kind of like you're going to fitness camp.
Right.
You have to be fit to do this.
It's good for people to hear that, though, that it's not, you know, that this is grueling, that you are at the top, very top of your game, and just like an athlete, and I use that term because I think we know that, right? You are like an Olympic athlete.
Exactly.
Going into like, you know, all right, we're going off to war, right? You've got to be in this finely tuned machine.
Exactly. We are athletes. We are the Olympians of performing, and you must treat your body mentally too. I can't go out and party. No, I mean, for the next year, I'm a performer, and therefore that is what I must do and want to do and am lucky enough to do. This is another thing, you know? I mean, I'm lucky. I get to make my living doing exactly what I want to do. Why would I mess that up and jeopardize that by even doing such simple things as not taking care of myself? So it's very important, yeah.